You did what you had to do to survive. Stop mistaking survival for sin. There are parts of you that still apologize for existing the way you did when you were younger. The silence you carried, the sharpness you developed, the masks you wore to be liked or at least to be left alone. You think back to the way you used to speak, the way you used to act, and your chest tightens. Because you see now what you couldn't then. How much of you was shaped by fear, not freedom. But this is what I need you to understand. You weren't broken for adapting. You were just trying to stay safe in a world that didn't always feel like it wanted you. Forgiveness begins here. Not in pretending it didn't hurt, not in rewriting history, but in holding that younger version of yourself with both tenderness and truth. Because they didn't know any better. They were improvising with the tools they had: hypervigilance, withdrawal, perfectionism, people-pleasing. Each one a strategy, not a flaw. You didn't become those things because you wanted to. You became them because something in you learned early that love was conditional, that attention was earned, and that safety came from shrinking. You didn't choose to harden, you adapted. Think back to that version of you who sat in their room, trying to decode the emotional weather of the house. The one who learned to sense tension in the air before a word was spoken. That's not weakness, that's a nervous system on overdrive. A child's brain learning to predict chaos so it could soften the blow. You became the peacemaker, the achiever, the caretaker, the ghost. You filled the silence because it was too heavy to sit in. You worked too hard because being useful was the only way to feel worthy. And you built walls so high around your heart that even love started to echo against them. And then one day, the world called you strong. They praised your composure, your discipline, your ability to keep it together. But strength isn't always a virtue when it's built on suppression. Sometimes, what looks like resilience is just a nervous system frozen in survival mode. You learned to function so well that no one noticed how much it cost you to stay composed. You became an expert at holding everything in, and then you wondered why you couldn't feel much at all. Forgiving yourself means looking at that pattern with softness instead of shame. It means realizing that you weren't weak for shutting down. You were overwhelmed. You weren't heartless for withdrawing. You were protecting something sacred inside of you. The tears you didn't cry weren't proof of apathy. They were the body's way of saying, not yet. It's not safe to feel this yet. Trauma isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet way you overanalyze every sentence you say, the way you flinch when someone raises their voice, or how you still rehearse your emotions before expressing them, just in case they come out wrong. It's the exhaustion that comes from constantly monitoring the room, scanning for threat, making sure everyone else is okay before you are. You call it empathy, but sometimes it's just hypervigilance in disguise. A reflex born from years of walking on emotional eggshells. And the hardest part? You learn to mistake that vigilance for love. You learn that being needed was the same as being wanted. That being selfless was the same as being good. That disappearing for others was noble. But now, as an adult, that same pattern leaves you drained, invisible, and confused. Why does care always feel like depletion? Why does love always taste like loss? Because you built your identity around survival, not authenticity. You became who the world needed you to be, not who you truly were. And forgiving yourself means grieving the years you spent performing safety, the versions of yourself you wore like armor, the smiles that hid exhaustion. It means acknowledging the way your body kept you alive, even if it cost you joy. There's a certain ache that comes with realizing you've outgrown your own coping mechanisms. You start noticing how the very things that once protected you, control, detachment, perfection, now keep you from connection. You begin to see how your boundaries became walls, how your silence became self-erasure. Healing starts when you can thank those defenses without letting them drive your life anymore. You don't need to destroy them, you just need to outgrow them. It's okay if you still flinch when someone loves you gently. It's okay if trust feels foreign. You spent years equating love with tension, so peace might feel uncomfortable at first. Be patient with that discomfort. It's not proof that something's wrong, it's proof that something new is trying to take root. The nervous system doesn't heal through judgment, it heals through safety, repetition, and compassion. So talk to yourself like someone you're learning to love. When the voice in your head starts to criticize who you were, the people pleaser, the perfectionist, the one who shut down, remind it, they kept me alive. That younger version of you carried the weight of survival so that you could live long enough to question it. They did their job. Now it's your turn to learn how to rest. Maybe that's what forgiveness really means. Letting the past version of you retire. They worked overtime trying to keep you safe, never realizing that safety isn't found in control, but in connection. You don't have to prove your worth anymore. You don't have to earn calm. You don't have to apologize for the way you survived. You just have to allow yourself to live like someone who's no longer in danger, and yet healing isn't linear. There will be days when you catch yourself reverting, overthinking, overgiving, over-apologizing. Don't shame those moments. They're not failures, they're echoes. Echoes fade with time, not force. You can't rush safety. You can only remind yourself again and again that you're not back there anymore. That it's safe now to feel, to rest, to receive. Forgiving yourself for who you had to be means realizing that you were never the villain of your story. You were the hero who just didn't have all the tools yet. You were improvising with half light, doing your best with limited love, and the fact that you can even reflect on it now means you've already begun to heal. Awareness is proof of evolution. The truth is, no one escapes childhood unscathed. We all inherit fragments, beliefs, fears, defenses, and spend adulthood sorting through them, deciding which ones to keep. But this isn't about erasing the past, it's about integrating it. You don't need to become someone new. You need to remember who you were before survival taught you to disappear. The self beneath the mask, the one who still wants to love without fear, to rest without guilt, to exist without justification. You've punished yourself long enough for doing what any human would have done. Adapt. You don't owe the world your perfection, you owe yourself your peace. So when the old shame rises, the memories of who you were, how you acted, what you said, breathe. Say, I forgive you. You did what you had to do. I see you now. And maybe that's where healing begins, not in grand gestures or sudden clarity, but in small moments of self-recognition, in choosing to meet the parts of you that once hid in the dark with the same warmth you've always given others, in allowing the inner child who never felt safe to finally exhale. You did what you had to do to survive. That was never a sin, but now you get to live.